lounging, son.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge podcast, guys. I am your host, the lonely Dillbot. No. And with me, as always,
the long distance Ryan.
The long distance Ryan. And this week, if you didn't already notice, in this episode we're gonna be talking about The Loneliness of the Long Distance Cartoonist by Adrian Tomine.
Tomine. I think it's Tomine. I don't know.
Tomine. Someone correct this.
Adrian, I don't know. Because he tries to correct it in the book, but he never actually does it. So
yeah, Tomine.
Tomine.
Yeah, Tomine. Just correct this, please. Please correct this.
I'm not trying to laugh at his name. I love Adrian Tomine.
We constantly mispronounce names all the time.
Yeah, and nobody corrects us.
No one's corrected us. No one's corrected us. Like, come on, help us out here. We're not trying to get the names wrong. That's fucked up. I'm Filipino, obviously, and my last name is Abuel, but I've heard very many different variations of my last name, and you wouldn't believe.
Really?
Yeah, Abul, Abuel, like, dude, it's crazy.
Abuel.
But Abuel, and then dude, and you know, it's like I have no hesitation in correcting people. Like my wife too, she ever since we got married, she's taken that name and just fucking owned it, like Abuel, you know, and I love it, you know, like, so please, creators, artists, anything, correct us. Like, we don't want to mispronounce these names. Like, I understand it. We don't want to be the Starbucks of podcasts and just fucking saying names wrong. But anyway, jumping right into it.
Let's talk this book.
Ryan, you brought this to my attention, and you said that I would like it, and I did. I read it last year for the first time in September, and it was a fantastic read. What got me is its format, and it's essentially a Moleskine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's just
I know, with the fucking elastic.
Yeah, with the flat and the little thingy and the little tassel, the little bookmark tassel. I love that. Like, this is like, dude, this is like, I actually, I want to do this thing. I want to do something like this. This is really cool. I feel like this is an excellent way to like present books, especially just for artists and cartoonists. Like, this, here you go. Like, this, just publish this.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I love is the different presentations that creators do. Like, I love hardcovers. I love like the absolute editions. I love when they really try to do something new and different. And this is like, I don't think this has been done before. I know that there's another book. What's it called? Something Monsters. Never mind. But I love this. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing it literally on notebook, on like the gridded notebook paper.
Yeah. And
in the inside cover, right? Like, he doesn't, like, nothing is missed on this. If found, please return to, and then it says like the reward you put on there, right? And then on the back inside cover.
What's great about it is, it makes it feel more personal, right? Because, you know, it makes it feel more personal. It makes you feel like it kind of makes you feel like you're reading someone's diary or reading someone's journal. But yeah, this is just like a kind of like personal look into Adrian Tomine's life. Adrian, I'm just gonna say Adrian. Just Adrian's life, and it's nice because it's, although some of the things here, like, you know, are like actual life experiences, and some of it is actually kind of messed up, like, and how things happen to him. But the thing is, it's like, these are recollections of his accounts and, like, you know, going through comic life. Right, comic life, and, like, you know, his own personal life, and I loved it. One of my favorites is actually in the beginning where he talks about growing up in Fresno and how, you know, how he gets laughed at
because he hates, or because he likes comics. I love that he's laying in bed that night too, and he just screams out, "I hate Fresno." It's so fucking funny, dude. Because, like, not everybody was into comic books, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was really until I met you in high school that I had friends that read comics.
Yeah.
Nobody. So that's same.
That's
like fucking 10 years of my...
about it.
Right, that's like 10 to 10 to 12 years of me reading comic books and not having any friends that were into it.
Yeah.
So
Same.
like, and then like having that kid come up to him and start asking about comics, and
he just fucking word vomits everything.
Yeah. That's totally me.
And then the kid was like, "Did Miss Hansen make you this?"
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it time jumps, and it jumps throughout like his career, right? Like it talks about like when he first gets into comic books, and like as a creator, and just like
his first Comic-Con. Like,
yeah, it's not like self-deprecating, the book, but he really just like he just continuously talks about how he's just like kind of shit on by fellow creators, like Frank Miller not being able to fucking pronounce his name, so he just skips over it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that continuously takes place. Like he's always trying to correct people on how to say his name, but he never actually does it. And you know, like people saying he's overrated, in terms of like the type of content he's putting out, and
how he's kind of like bootleg. He's a bootleg of other creators, and
right.
Like it's. I mean, the thing it's and you know, and it also has a little bit of his dating life. Like this is really good stuff. It's really candid looks, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing about what's crazy about this is there's a quote in the back from Alan Moore. In this heartfelt and beautifully crafted work, Adrian Tomine presents the most honest and most insightful portrait you will ever see of an industry. He just kind of brings to light some of the shitty things that happens to creators, whether it be getting treated like shit by freaking comic shops to other creators. From the outside looking in, you don't know about these things. You don't know. I mean, prior to Twitter, like you wouldn't know about these things unless you were actually living it, right? But now, you know, now that there's things like Twitter and things like people's blogs and newsletters that come out every week. You know, you actually get kind of like a little bit more insight into like what creators go through, like, you know, out in the wild. You know, like, you know, I'm sure there are shittier experiences than this. You know,
yeah,
like I'm sure there's shittier experiences than this. I mean, there has to be, especially in light of all that's going on with like, you know, like with certain creators being fucking absolute shitheads and fucking using their power to take advantage of people. Like, you know, this is only scratching the surface of that. And I'm not trying to delve into like that dark part of anything, but it's just like, you know, this is something you don't get to see every day. This is something Adrian's sharing a part of his life and a part of comic life that you know that needs to be talked about. You know?
Well, yeah, it's like you're really getting an insight into his perception and like of just being a cartoonist, right? Like he was being heralded, he got signed by Drawn and Quarterly, and like the hate people were like, you know, like that he kind of like one of the guys, right, like comes up to him and is like, oh, you didn't go with him, and he's like, yeah, but my dream was always to work for Drawn and Quarterly, and like they kind of like the hate that dude was throwing his way because he didn't sign with a smaller publisher, right?
Yeah.
And or being confused with Daniel Klaus when he goes and does his signing, and they hand him, and this girl hands him Ghost World, and he's like, that's not mine,
that's not me,
right?
That's not
or
mine.
When he's at a con and they think he's Neil Gaiman, and he's
that was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your table's over here.
Yeah, and he's like, you know, so it's like it's moments like that, or when he goes and because Daniel Klaus is like, you know, he did 8 Ball. I don't know if you're familiar as much with his work. I'm sure you know Ghost World because of the movie, but like Daniel Klaus did a series called 8 Ball, and it's something I recently, like my brother gave me his complete 8 Ball collection that Fantagraphics put out because, you know, he's like, he knew that I wanted to read it. He's like, here, you can have mine. So Daniel Klaus is very, very well regarded, critically acclaimed cartoonist, and amongst maybe not as mainstream as like people that read Marvel and DC, but Daniel Klaus is like huge in comic books, right? And so like he's like friends with him, and like he's kind of like talking about how like he never thought this would happen, and he's hanging out with Richard Sala, and this artist comes in, thinks he's just there to fix the fucking computer, and like has no idea who he is. You know what I mean? Like, So it's like those scenes that are really funny, or when he's doing that interview with the chick and he goes to the bathroom, he's like, man, I hope she doesn't hear these sounds coming out of the bathroom. You know what I mean? Or I hope she doesn't. Or I hope she doesn't smell. And like he comes out and she's like this. She's just covering her nose. So like these little moments and these little snapshots into his life are just, to me, like I've said this to people. I love slice of life comic books. Like it has become like probably my favorite genre in comic books. You know, like the superhero stuff is like I kind of don't even like consider that a genre. Like I liked reading my Marvel and DC, but if you told me like to pick a favorite genre, I would probably pick slice of life. It's something I really enjoy. I like seeing like these just real world situations where there's no real fantastic element to it, right? You know, I think that he captures these little moments so well. You know what I mean? And he's not too embarrassed to share some of these embarrassing moments. You know what I mean? Like, and I like that. I like that aspect of the book. And you really like what like towards the end too, like another moment I like is when he starts having these chest pains. And
and he writes the letter.
Yeah. And it's like, this is it. I'm dying. And like, and it's just like a one long form letter. Like, there's no breaks. There's no periods. It's just like him fucking like freaking out.
Panic attack.
Yeah, just straight panic attack. And it ends up being nothing. You know
I like how he starts off the first letter before he scratches it out. Dear Nora and May, if you're reading this, it's because I'm dead.
Yeah.
And he says it and says, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know, it's like I said, it's very candid. It's very honest from his perspective. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I love it. This is just I would recommend this to anybody and everybody. Like this, there's no fault in this. There's like I think this is like a, to me this is a perfect slice of life book. Because, it's really real life accounts, and the way he tells it, he brings humor into these awkward situations and these embarrassing situations and these sad situations. And you know, like it takes a lot for anybody, any writer, to be that honest with himself and that honest with his audience, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like I have because of this book, I have a profound respect for Adrian. This is some fantastic stuff, dude. Like if you want to really get down to it, like this, like I wouldn't be surprised if this won an Eisner. Like
no, hands down. I mean, it was in my picks for last year for my top books. I never I had intended to do a video of going like through my favorite books of 2020, but you know, COVID derailed that when I got, you know, like when I got sick. So like I was like bedridden for like fucking almost a month, you know what I mean? Like where I couldn't do shit. So I never got to do it, but I'm really glad that we're kind of fixing that by talking about it. Because I did do a couple videos for my picks, but this is something I'm really glad that we chose to read for the podcast, you know, because now I got to read it again, and it was just as good the second time. I read his work beforehand. This wasn't my first book that I read by his. Killing and Dying was the book that I picked up first, which isn't even his first book, I mean. And I just absolutely loved it. And there was something about the cover that kept like drawing my eye at the shop. And I kept walking by it and looking at it and not getting it. And I'm like, fuck, man, should I get that? Man, that cover is just like really screaming out to me. And it's nothing like really crazy. It's just like, if you look at the cover of that book, maybe you'll understand why. I don't know. I can't really describe what drew me to it. But I picked it up and I'm like, dude, this is fucking phenomenal. And there's a bunch of like indie cartoonists. Like I mentioned Daniel Klaus, right? Like I got Chester Brown is another one. And the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel has really like opened my eyes up to more of these like indie cartoonists that are being published from Fantagraphics, from Drawn and Quarterly, from some of the publishers that aren't necessarily, unless you're like a really diehard like comic fan of all types of comics, maybe you don't know these publishers, but Adrian's work is really good. all of it. Optic Nerve was, and he talks about it here, was like his breakout series, and those were published in like single issues. They've been collected. I mean, there's a slew of books that you by him that I think that you'll really love if you love this. You know, like Killing and Dying was the one that I got first, but then there's like Summer Blonde, which is really good. Shortcomings I haven't read yet, and Sleepwalk and Other Stories I have not read yet. But yeah, Killing and Dying and Summer Blonde are fantastic, and they also are really slice of life. Like they're short stories. They're not like you're not reading one long story. This is the only one that I've read of his that were just like pretty much one story, right? Like it's just about him. It's his life. You get the glimpses of him as a kid, and then you go to 95, and then we keep jumping, and we keep seeing him throughout his life, and like he never fully gets like that fame that some of these other cartoonists that he hangs out with get, but that doesn't stop him either. And I think that that's also kind of like maybe not an intended message that he was trying to get across, but it's something I took away from the book, that he just kept persevering and he kept doing something he loved, even though like there were all these people that were kind of dismissing him almost. I mean, Frank Miller not even like trying to say his name. Come on, Frank. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like at least attempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or do what we did. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this name, but Adrian Tomine.
Yeah, he's like I'm not even gonna try to say this name. And I was like, God damn it, dude. And you know, like for him to sit there in the audience and he's like thinking like, oh man, my God, dude, Frank Miller. He's about to talk about me. He's about to say my name. And then you're just like, it's just sitting there like, fuck. He didn't even try, you know? Yeah. And it's just I just love, and then the signing at the shop where he's like sitting there, nobody comes, and then he hears the shop owner go in the back and be like, dude, you guys gotta come here, please. Like nobody's at this signing. And and then he's like, does he not realize that
I can hear him?
What he's saying in there? Yeah. You know, like just like these little moments of life, just like nothing like crazy happening, right? Just really small, intimate moments. That's the kind of shit I love in comics. I've talked about it. You know, like you can find these small intimate moments in a Daredevil book or a Batman book or a Superman or a Spider-Man. Like you can find these moments in there too, and that's something I like. While I do love superhero fights and like superhero battles and like just like, you know, like old school superhero comics and or superheroes type stories, I love the small moments, and that's why I think as I've gotten older and my reading has changed and my like the type of creators that I look at, type of books I look at, slice of life has become like has become my favorite genre, is because I like seeing these. You know, I like the small moments and like where you get these really poignant fucking like just like little drops of knowledge almost, kind of. You know what I mean? Like that's really what I take away from them. And I think that he is one of my favorite creators now. Since I've discovered his work over the last year and a half, I don't know, this 2020 was a blur, so I can't even really remember when I first picked up his stuff, but I highly recommend this book. That's why I suggest
highly recommend.
And I suggest if you read this book, if this is your first book of his that you read, go read the other stuff, because that stuff is also top notch, really great cartooning. You know, he's a very, very talented cartoonist, and he has this way of capturing the moments in life and bringing a level of, you know, emotional, the emotional resonance that it has and the humor that it has. To me, it has it all. And it's just really, really, really good comics. And it's unique. It's not something that like, it's not going to be for everyone. And I get that, but give it a chance. At least try it. Like I tried to recommend it to Mario, and it wasn't his thing. But whatever, you know, it's not for everyone. But I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, but not comics are for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. But I mean, if you're willing to take a chance on this and you do like it, let us know. Like, let's talk about it. This is some really fun stuff. Really fun, really intimate, really nice, and it's really silly, you know.
Yeah.
This definitely put Adrian on my radar, and I'm gonna read more of this stuff. Easy, especially the second time around, because like I said, I read this initially in September, and second time around, like, man, like, why haven't I read more? Like,
yeah, it made me real like, fuck, why didn't I pick up those other 2 books that are at the shop that I've been like eyeing for like the past few months, you know? But yeah, I mean, dude, go read the other stuff. And this isn't just for you; it's like for everybody listening. Like, read his stuff; it's really good. And you know, some of the other creators I mentioned in here, like Daniel Klaus, highly recommend. You know, Ghost World, that was adapted into a movie, right? He's got other stuff. I think he's got a couple other things that were adapted, but he's another awesome cartoonist. Chester Brown, too, I mentioned him. Anything from Drawn and Quarterly, I would even say, is definitely worth a look. Fantagraphics, those 2 publishers are...
Fantagraphics has a little cameo in this. They have one of the first Comic-Cons he goes to, Fantagraphics has a cameo. They have a booth.
Yeah. Oh, and then it was funny too. I forgot the Drawn and Quarterly booth. How he's like, "Oh man, we had such a big line," but then I realized it wasn't for us. You know, like but he's like, "Hey, but here, sit right here, and let's sign some books." And like nobody was even at the table. It's just, I love it. I love seeing this like look at the con life from the perspective of a cartoonist that is not like a Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane. You know, like one of like the heavy hitters, and like you're just seeing like. Just like people just don't get like you don't get the same recognition, and that's a shame, you know. And that's
I'm gonna try to make it a mission, like to like that's why like I'm really excited to go to a con. I mean, I'm not going to this year's LA Comic-Con, unfortunately, because you know with the baby coming and all that stuff. But I'm really looking forward to going to a con because like I miss that. I miss being a fan at a con, but also. Usually when I go to cons, I just go to have fun, you know, and you know, screw around, buy some stuff for cheap. But like this book actually made me realize that there are a plethora of super dope creators out there that no one has any idea about. So so next time I go to a con, I'm gonna try to hit every booth, talk to every creator, and see what their projects are about. You know, because these guys work hard. These guys work hard, and they're regular people just like us. And then you know, this book gave me perspective on like, hey, sometimes like you know, it's not as fun as you think it would be, and I feel like I want to show my appreciation for these people's work, whether or not I'm familiar with it or not. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely. I'm gonna go to LA. I'm gonna go to LA this year. I'm just not gonna spend any money. And you know, like I'm just gonna go, check some stuff out. Maybe just like even hit up some of these like indie people and like just get their info. You know what I mean? And like, because I can't really afford it. I can't afford it just for a plethora of reasons. But I mean, also like I get a free badge. Why not get that free badge?
I know. I get a free badge too. But damn. But also, it's like
just one day. Think about it.
Yeah, no, they also dropped the Frank Miller appearance.
I mean, I can't not go.
I can't.
Frank is not gonna be around much longer.
I know,
you know what I mean?
I know,
you know what I mean? Like
I know. That happened with Stan Lee. Like I literally was about to wait in line for Stan Lee, and like, I'll see him next year.
And I did. I paid that 100 whatever fucking dollars it was to see him. He didn't even look up at me, but at least I got to be close to Stan Lee for that brief moment in time.
Yeah, and just experience his energy.
I got to see Frank. You think about it, Dylan. You think about it. Maybe we go one day. Just one day, dude. Just one day. I'll make sure you don't spend money, and you make sure I don't spend money. And then neither one of our wives will be mad because we won't have spent money except the gas to get there. So you think about it. You just think about it. Just think about it. And then then that's content for the channel, dude. And then we're recording our experience at the con, you know? I'm not trying to pressure. Hey, I didn't pressure you about the Atmosphere concert because I understand that's going to cost us money. This could potentially cost us nothing. I'll drive. It'll cost you no gas. Just think about it. Just think about it. All right. Anyways, I'm going to stop pressuring you. So yeah, I think the final word on the book, really awesome book by a great cartoonist. Yeah, highly recommend. I think we both recommend it. It's easy to see why this was nominated for an Eisner. Well deserved nomination.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad we read this a second time. You know, it has. Usually, I don't like reading books this soon after I read them before, but like this book, I was very excited to kind of dive back into, and I'm glad we did it. So,
yeah,
That's all I got.
Yeah. That's
all right,
that's
cool.
all I got too. Like,
all right.
Once again, Adrian, please correct us on how to pronounce your last name. Please. Like, I'm so glad we got that. We said that in the beginning too, because because like that's gonna be the first thing he hears. Like, please correct us.
Hopefully he's listening and he can correct us. Shoot me that message, dude. Comment down below, Adrian, if you see it. But yeah, that's all I got. And that's been another episode of the Comic Lounge podcast. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at the Comic Lounge. Follow Dylan at the Dillbot on Instagram. Dillbot is dope on Twitter. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. Hit that TeePublic, the Comic Lounge, so you can get all the Comic Lounge merch. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.